Nice to meet everyone and good afternoon on this what are we Wednesday now? Nice. Uh really excited to connect. I'm just going to share my screen here. You guys can all see the deck here, right?
Yes.
Okay, beautiful. Here we are. Yeah, well, hey, thanks for the generous introduction, Amanda. Really excited to connect with everyone today. So I'm kind of like the warm up act for Amanda. So if you guys remember concerts, which are coming back one day, I'm like the starter. She's the headliner. I'm gonna make hopefully feed my vibrations into her awesome presentation. So I'm very excited to jump in. I mean, getting right into it. And and you'll get an introduction more so at the end, but like the high level with me is that um I really think a lot about like you as a new agent or as even as a mature agent. You'll know that referral partner business, or of course centers of influence, I mean that's a very key part of how to get qualified leads who trust you and are likely not going to disrespect your time. And for those who do any kind of lead gen, it's a grind chasing leads, even with automation, right? It's not pleasant. It's something we have to do. But when you get a warm referral from someone who can vet for you and who has vetted the customer before you, it truly is game changing. But the question is, how do you get more referral partners? Do they just happen organically, or is there a system for it? I'm a big systems guy. So, I mean, in a past life, I founded a marketing agency. So I'm basically a marketing and sales agency that was on Dragon's Den actually not too long ago. And we got to experiment with like, how do you systemize the process in terms of getting referral partners using automation, and literally automation, like it just happens in the background, but also like building habits of doing the one-to-one work of building a relationship. You can't just automate everything, especially when it's a deep relationship. So what's the blend of automation and one-to-one connection to build referral partners? That's what we're going to talk about today. And a lot of it can be done through different channels on social media. And a big one's going to be through Instagram. That's what Amanda's going to talk to in part two of this. Um, so yeah, I hope that in the next 15 minutes I'm gonna spark some ideas in you. Just gonna hit the surface so you understand how to use social media to build the right referral relationships. So, do you guys recognize these two people? Hopefully, at least the one on the right. Of course, that's Glenn Sanford, your founder of EXP. He spoke with Mr. Grant Cardone, who many people kind of see him as the kind of like the sales celebrity. I mean, quick raise of hands. Who's seen a Grant Cardone video or been to his 10x conference? Maybe in the chat, throw up a hey or a thumbs up. I just want to get some context on how most people know him. He's kind of like the Gary Vaynerchuk, but for sales, of course. And they had a conversation at 10x, the virtual one actually that happened, not just a couple months ago. And one thing that really resonated was Glenn talked about if it's not broke, then break it. So what does that mean, right? If you have a system that is not being used to its full potential, then you're probably shooting too low. So he's all about how do you scale yourself from like what could be linear growth, right? You do 10 sales calls today, you get one lead, and then it kind of evolves to getting exponential 10x growth where you think outside of the box and you can, instead of growing like this, you're growing like this. You have these big spurts, right? And a big thing, of course, I think is referral partners, but um, before we get into again the actual brass tactics of that, let's think about like in your business right now. Um, what are like what are ways for you to be either 10 times more efficient and or 10 times more effective? So for example, are you getting leads in it with the least amount of actual manpower put in? So how much automation do you have for leads, right? And then when you actually talk to a lead on the phone, how effective you are converting them and convincing them that you, over the 50,000 other realtors in Toronto, are the right realtor for them. Those are all like questions I ask myself as a business owner, running a mortgage brand, like, because we also do our lead gen, we do our referral partner generation. Like, how do you leverage your time better? And of course, again, it's automation and systems and closing more deals in less time, right? So again, it's that balance. A big one is how do you build trust with different leads, especially referral partners? Like, do you have a system for that? Does it just kind of happen ad hoc? Those are like extremely important things. If you want to scale your business, you've got to have a playbook for it, right? And a big one too is like, who do you spend time prospecting and chasing? and what referral partners might already have those leads, but a lot further along as far as, are they qualified? Are they pre-approved on the mortgage side? And are they ready to transact and not waste your time? Because that's a big reality of today. There's just so much noise out there, right? And I talked about the last point there. So these are all things that I want to lead into with referral partner marketing. And so we'll start with a bit of a story with, I guess, the social media queen. I just heard that that's your nickname. It's very fitting. So I'm going to give you guys a story of how I actually ended up here today, right? And like Amanda and I had no warm introduction, nothing. Like she was a cold lead online, right? And so here's a story where like this is our email thread from like ages ago. I guess it was, yeah, I guess it was December 2019. Look at that. So here's a story where like literally I used automation and one-to-one, like very careful and personalized outreach to build a relationship over what was since December 19th, 2019 till now. And a secret is that we didn't reconnect till very recently. So I'm going to walk you guys through what I did at the beginning and what I did recently to land me in this, in this presentation to hopefully give you guys value. So this is actually LinkedIn, as a lot of you might have realized. And there are a lot of automations on LinkedIn. You've probably been the recipient of what is generally known as spam, people selling you stuff on LinkedIn and all these automated messages. Like who's had that happen to them? Hands up. To some degree solicited, maybe not tastefully. But one thing that we've realized with relationship selling is that automation isn't bad, but it's got to be done the right way. So if you guys can read the message here, this is how I reached out to her. Very kind of no hard sell. I see we've got mutual connections. Let's have a conversation. It was very kind of, very sort of, I think, non-threatening. I don't know, Amanda, you can probably maybe pipe into that if you remember that interaction, but it was, it was something that I was actually done through a bot. I don't know if you know that. So it was done in a way where I was just like, hey, let's build a relationship. I built my personal brand on LinkedIn. You saw something that looked semi okay and you accept it. I don't know, man, do you want to jump in at all with that? Like, do you remember when I reached out?
Yeah, yeah, I do remember. And yeah, it was not threatening message. It didn't come off as spammy. So yeah, it was good.
Cool. And you'll see the next message was once she did respond, that's when I got alerted that she was, willing to have a conversation. And I went into her LinkedIn, I creeped her social media, I saw her YouTube channel. I said, hey, I've got a channel as well. We should collaborate. We should at least have a conversation. So this is where it's very important for you to be very thorough with social media and use all the information that's out there. And especially when Amanda talks about Instagram, it's another channel to give a different angle of someone's life. So that's just, again, a simple example of using automation and then using a very careful approach to have partners have a conversation to find common ground. No one's selling anyone anything. I'm not asking for referrals. It's just, let's see how we can help each other level up, right? That's number one. So again, step one of this, when you do referral partner reach out, it's just the build phase. That's what I call it. So you got to make the first move. How does that work? So there's kind of three phases. Number one is you want to build your referral partners. Again, specifically on LinkedIn, there's other platforms as well. You've got to reach out to a lot of referral partners. And I mean, first and foremost, who is the right referral partner for you, right? Could it be a realtor in a different city who has clients that are moving to your city? Is it a financial advisor? Is it an accountant? I mean, again, show of hands or people are comfortable, put in the chat, like, do you do referral partner outreach? And if so, who have you found to be the best referral partner for you with your specific practice? Like, which referral partners end up having the best synergy with you? Give you guys a couple seconds to think about that and perhaps write it out. I'd be curious to see. But that's the biggest thing, to be like, who are my referral partners? And you know what? It's probably already happened organically. So don't, like, look at the data if you have it and be like, okay, work backwards from that. How can I get more divorce lawyers to send me business? How can I get more financial advisors, right? Those are all things that you think about. Then you've got to basically just do outreach, prospecting. You guys have gotten tons of training on this. You got to cut out the time and do the prospecting. Now, how much of it's manual versus automatic? That's something that you got to think about. But there's a lot of automation tools if used properly on LinkedIn. Of course, my agency uses it a ton. They can be very valuable, but there's always a fine line of automation where you can be caught, right? So it's got to be authentic, number one. After you do that, I mean, think about, like, you get all these either new followers or new connections on LinkedIn. Okay, so does that mean you get referrals? Probably not. There's a lot of noise. So how do you activate that relationship? And there's a lot of ways to do it. Number one is you want to get a meeting with them. probably. Or if they're too busy to meet with you, maybe you start to like their photos, comment on their posts, start to really show like that you're interested and you dig their stuff, and you're going to be top of mind with them. And like few people actually do this, and this is pretty manual. There are some bots that do it, but quite inauthentic. I don't recommend them. But again, it's always a mixture of automation, but you got to be at top of mind. And who's had this happen? You meet a referral partner or even a client, and you have a great meeting, like tons of energy. They're like, "Yep, Amanda or Raymond, Gary, let's do this." I think there's gonna be some ways to work together. And then after that, they go to the next meeting and probably say the same thing, and then they get busy with their life, and then they forget about you, and probably vice versa, right? So to activate them, I think you've really got to have that meeting and set the right expectations. But then it's about what you do with the follow up, and we'll talk about that through email and how that's a good way to stay top of mind. And at the end of the day, like converting a referral partner is when like you find a fit between you and them, and a lot of the people will not be a fit, and you find a way to show that your value is unique. You're going to take care of their client in a way that helps you both win. I always say 1 + 1 = 3. How do we make 1 + 1 = 3? Right? How do we combine to give a better client journey so we both get referrals, we both keep the client in our ecosystem. They don't go to a bank and the bank refers another realtor. No, it's got to be our ecosystem. So those are, I find, like are the best partnerships. And then just showing you care, following them on social, really being involved in their business as a business partner. And I think it was someone on the team here, I think it might have been Gary, that said, this is the business family. How do you extend your business family? It's super important, right? And here's just a little script on like, if you guys are like, okay, Paul, this sounds cool, but like exactly like how do you do your scripts when you reach out to people on LinkedIn? Here's literally what I sent to Amanda, right? And by the way, this is the first message. You see the FN, that shows it's an automation. There's software that can take their first name and boom, send out the message, like any automation. So if they don't respond in 3 days, okay, then what? Are you going to remember to go back to your inbox and remind them or nudge them or set a reminder? There are automations that can actually drip them, just like what you do with your SMS and your email drips. It can drip them on LinkedIn. So the second message is a little bit of like, hey, thanks for accepting my invite. I know LinkedIn is a super busy spot. Hey, what made you accept my invite? What did you see as a thing that resonated? So you kind of want to put the question back on them to see if the buy-in's there, right? And then you can have a small pitch around just your philosophy on business. There's no hard pitch here. It's like, how can we at least share knowledge and be better entrepreneurs, right? And asking a probing question is always good. And here's a bit of like the steps, right? These are things that I've been talking about, but these are all like, again, like pretty basic stuff that I'm sure you have done before. But when you systemize this and you find the right partner, it really is something that can really change your business. And here's just an example of like, my number one, I guess referral partner was literally like, here's the scripts I sent them, right? And I think people like to see that you have similar values and similar connections. And if you network enough, you'll always have at least a few people in common. So you can have the confidence of saying, we have mutual friends. Let's connect, right? So those are all things that you can use to your advantage. And again, he responded to us to it, was like, hey, I'm open. And we have of course an office in Vancouver and in Toronto. I'm in Toronto, of course, Queen and Bathurst. But just to create any kind of conversation is a perfect excuse to give him a call and then have a meeting, right? So that's the goal. So again, what now? I had this meeting with Brad. You've had this meeting with a referral partner. Again, they haven't got back to you. How do you stay top of mind to actually get referrals and see if there's a long-term fit? So this is around a little bit about around email marketing. This is going to actually tie in a nice bow how Amanda and I reconnected and why I'm here today. So as you guys know with email newsletters, and before I even talk about email newsletters, everyone, of course, here is well aware of them. I'm curious, who in the room has a consistent email newsletter? Raise the hands, thumbs up, put something in the chat. Be curious to see. Consistently, every month. Now, part 2 of my question, and if your hand's up, let's see if it stays up. How many of you have an email just for referral partners? Probably less, right? Because you don't think about that. But having an email for referral partners is very important because the verbiage around you can help your client get pre-approved for a much better rate or afford more or whatever it might be, or if it's a financial advisor, like this is a great investment opportunity for your client who may not have as much down payment now. It's different verbiage. So it is very important. And I think people appreciate a bit of the B2B email versus just a consumer educational one. So that's something that I would highly recommend to get started with. Maybe it's a quarterly newsletter, right? And again, like probably review for a lot of you, but like, what are the things you talk about in your newsletter? Well, end of the day, like, I remember, like, I met with Amanda I said we didn't even meet. We didn't even meet. It was just like we had like a LinkedIn connection. We might have had a quick call, but it was super brief, right? And then she's on my newsletter. I'm like, okay, well, how does Amanda and other people I've talked to actually start to trust me just a little bit, right? Or get some value from me? A lot of it's show don't tell. You can go up to a sales meeting and like kill it, just be great at sales, right? But like one thing's telling, one thing's showing. And the manager's probably thinking like, well, if Paul really is the good presenter he says he is, and he's like can take care of clients really well and get them pre-approved, and he can really hustle for my clients when everyone's on vacation over in Huntsville, right? Right? How am I going to make sure that he's going to hustle, right? So by having consistent emails and social media presence, she gets. I'm showing, I'm not telling, and that's what you have to do with your referral partners is really walk the walk. So these are all things that I think are really important to stay top of mind, but also show and give a preview of how you will give a great client experience that is shared and that will come back for both of you, right? That's really the biggest thing I find with newsletters. I mean, like, on the level up mortgages side of things, I mean, we talk about all kinds of things, right? And these are just some ideas. I mean, cutting edge news is important. Success stories, people remember a lot, things 10 times more of a story than just a fact, right? So how can you take 15 minutes, maybe like once a week, to be like, huh, out of all my deals, what's a really cool deal I had recently that was kind of tricky? And I had a financial advisor or a mortgage broker or some referral partner thank me for it. Why did they thank me for it? What did I do to make them look good? And you can start to write a story. It could be a blog post. It could be even a social media post, a story that shows you solved the problem. That's super important. And I usually actually repurpose this post from social media to my newsletter, so just to save a bit of time and get different eyeballs on it. These are all things that you've got to be kind of in the flow of it. And like, here's an example, right? With you guys, like, let's talk about not just a social media post that I put on my newsletter, but I hope this can actually be a fun tidbit for you guys who are maybe struggling with the stress test from 2 days ago, right? There's probably people who can't qualify anymore. So what's this whole thing about alternative lenders, right? So I always address the elephant in the room. When I tell someone about an alternative lender, they're like, oh, it's the loan sharks, right? Oh, they've got super high rates. I'm not going to look at that. So you have to demystify things. I think that's what gets people's attention. So are they expensive is the first thing I hear. These are B lenders. Remember, there's A lenders, which are prime lenders, right? Scotiabanks, TDs of the world, and MCAPs, First National. Those are all prime lenders. Then you've got B lenders, which are also branches of First National. You've got Excalibur. You've got, Merrick's, different branches of the A lenders. And are they expensive? Well, I see a 2.74 fixed right now. By the way, 1-year term, because people can, of course, get out of terms quick to get up to an A lender if they can, right? So 2.74, I'm seeing fixed rates right now between 1.99 and like 2.4. So what's the delta of the 2.4 and 2.74? You put that out in math, it's not that much more per month. And with your clients, if they're going to wait a year and be like, no, I want to be good for an A lender, or I can't qualify now. Well, in a year, what's that same property going to be at? It's going to appreciate. There's opportunity cost. In a year, I bet you the rates from A lenders are going to be about just under 3%. So it's all about selling opportunity cost and demystifying what you're doing. So B lenders are like pretty good rates. Some of them actually don't even apply the stress test. There's one lender who's flexible, 40-year amortizations, so you can extend the mortgage term and lower payments, and they don't have the stress test. Right here in Ontario, brand new product. That's one key thing. Do they have bad terms? Well, no. People can afford usually up to 50% more with a B lender than an A lender. That can probably help you sell a bigger house or make sure someone qualifies. And are they slow and unprofessional? No, like these guys do 24-hour turnaround. So this is what I put into a story on my Instagram, where there's a person who could actually qualify for an A lender but turned them down and said, no, I'm gonna go with a B lender. Why would they do that? The A lender's got a lower rate. Like, that's kind of dumb, right? But when you dig more into it, the B lender was more flexible in their debt to income ratio, right? Their GDS and TDS ratio. That's the main thing around mortgage qualification. And he had to pay off a bunch of debt to make the ratios in line with TD. But to do that, he had to liquidate his Tesla stocks and maybe his Dogecoin. And he didn't want to do it, right? Smart man. So he paid a little bit more now to not liquidate something that was growing super fast, and he got the house he wanted, and now he's going to switch over to an A lender soon. So again, I tell this in a story on an Instagram post, repurpose it on an email newsletter, and again, these stories stick, and hopefully you learned a few things about B lenders there, right? So just to wrap up, before I called back to Amanda, right, social media queen. So like very recently, I look at my newsletters because what I love about newsletters is the data. It's buying intent, it's interest. Do people give a shit about you, right? So I saw that she had opened up my last few newsletters, and I was like, huh, I just saw one of the cool new YouTube videos she did. I'm gonna give her a call just to see like what's going on. So I had built hopefully a bit of trust, some familiarity, but I couldn't really control the timing part of it. And timing is kind of out of your control. But I had the data to see the timing was better. She was a bit more interested. Probably heard about the stress test, about different things happening in the market right now. Called her, had a great chat, and then we aligned on the fact that we're both educators. We love to educate. I said, Paul, I've got a presentation coming up very soon. If you can jump in and perhaps, build on what I'm saying and help the team really think about social media and ways to get leads, I'd love to have you. That was the conversation. Went super well. Here I am. So you think of the process. I guess those of you who came on a bit late, Amanda and I connected on LinkedIn through a cold reach out, December 19th, 2019. We exchanged 2 messages and then nothing until very, very recently, right? And because I had added her on LinkedIn, showed personalization through a very manual process, looked at, really cared about what she's all about, supported her on YouTube, right? Added comments, did little things like that. And then eventually just the timing worked out where I had, again, but the trigger was the email, the data, right? Seeing she's interested, had a phone call, worked out really well. Here I am. And again, hopefully she didn't make a big mistake because I am a little verbose in what I talk about, but lots of value, I hope. So here we are, and that's how it worked out. And likewise, what can you do to plant seeds, use automation, do one-to-one connections? Relationship selling is different from selling. How do you build a relationship and stay top of mind? And then find a way for the timing to work out. Use data from your newsletters to your referral partners. Ideally, it's different than newsletters to your consumers, right? To your leads, in a way that you can then collaborate on something, a presentation, right? Anything that helps you guys have 1 + 1 = 3. That's the key with relationships. So just to wrap up, as you've probably clued in, I run a mortgage brand, mainly headquartered out of Toronto, and it's also in BC. We focus a lot on self-employed people who want to be either entrepreneurial about the way they approach a mortgage, not just the rates, it's about the cash flow, or they just have trouble qualifying because lenders are weird with unstable income and commissions. First-time buyers and of course investors are a big one. I come from the marketing and the sales world. Again, we have been on lots of PR and shows and Dragon's Den. It's all been a really cool experience to bring to the mortgage industry and really give a bit more of what I call just education. I think media is really important. Yeah, just some background. Any Spanish speakers here? I'm from Mexico City, and I know EXP has recently expanded to Mexico, and Amanda's even got a partner out there, which I think is super cool. And when I'm not, I guess, on the grind, I do a lot of other stuff that kind of keep my creative juices going and keep me flowing. So that's it. What I'll leave with you guys right now is I did just launch a first-time homebuyers course, which a lot of realtors have asked me, can I take the course so that I'm a bit more dangerous and someone asks me questions? So if you guys can be proactive and reach out before next week, I'm happy to give you guys access to that. And if you have any clients who just are curious to know a bit more of the mortgage process and the pre-approval process and want to be a bit more educated, maybe they're 6 to 12 months out,
أهلا
I've got
حبيبي
lots of resources for
محمد،
that.
كيف حالك؟
So anyways, that's kind of it. I see
أعطيت
people are coming off
5000
mute.
في الحساب.
Questions?
برافو عليك، شاطر.
Perfect. I was trying to tell you that you're the host, so you would need to mute people.
Yeah, I got it.
Awesome.
You can.
I did
Yeah,
see
you can.
that there was a question in the chat box for you.
Okay, let's do it. Questions? Yes. Thanks everyone. Really appreciate it.
Yeah. So the question that I see here is they were asking what chat bot do you use specifically?
Yes. So for LinkedIn, the most kind of common one is called DuckSoup, DuxSoup, and that lets you do basic automations on LinkedIn.
Okay.
Now, and that has some limitations, of course. And of course, if you want to go a bit more like, I want something that's going to be like more robust, because there's actually like what my agency has, like a CRM for LinkedIn where you can keep track of people, send them drips, prioritize people, all kinds of more elaborate stuff. And like, yeah, that's of course, talk to me after if you want to, chat about that. But like, there's like do it yourself, $50 a month, or all the way to like, 500 to 1500 a month, where you might have an agency, right? doing the strategy with you, keeping you accountable, helping you actually be effective with it. So I'd say dabble with it, but you'll find that you really got to be on it. But like, again, it's a magical tool. And again, your referral partners are easy to find on LinkedIn. Financial planner, Toronto. I do realtor, Toronto. Like there's a lot, right? And it's about just doing that outreach and being on top of it. But yeah, that's the tools, and I'm happy to connect offline. Just connect with me and we can chat more about it.
Perfect. And one other person just said that they had mortgage questions. What's the best way to connect? Email?
Yeah. Um, uh, I've got plenty of channels at your disposal here on the screen. I mean, email is probably the best way. I'd even say just text me, guys. I'm pretty quick. I'm fastest on text, so you've got my number there. I've grandfathered my BC number. I never changed. I'm from BC originally. That number works. Shoot me a note, and I'm offices on Queen and Bathurst. If you guys are in the area, we can go for a walk. Pretty chill. But yeah, shoot me a note, and I've already added a couple of you guys on Instagram, but follow back and. Yeah, super excited to connect with you all and just understand a bit about your journeys and see if there's a way for us to find common ground.